Several great updates about Tesla today. First, the Tesla AI team has been making great progress with the latest full self-driving version 12.5.4. It's now being rolled out wide with about 75 to 90% of all eligible vehicles now getting it. This is the version that has actual smart summon. There's now only 2 items left on their list of milestones they say they'd achieve by the end of September. Second, we have new information about how Waymo actually reports their disengagement rates. It may or may not be true, but this explains why you can compare Waymo to Tesla and you can't just assume Waymo's better than Tesla in autonomy. Third, the Cybertruck is going global. It's now being sold in Mexico, as we've previously reported, but now the Cybertruck has entered the certification process to be sold in South Korea. We've got videos to show you of the Mexico launch, as well as a new entry-level Model 3 being offered there. Finally, there are new updates on Tesla in China and a Supercharger partnership in Japan of all places. So I've got Larry Goldberg joining us. Larry's a serial entrepreneur. Appreciate you joining me, Larry.
Great to be here.
So this is lots of activities recently with full self-driving, all the milestones in September, they're crossing it off. All of us pretty well have actual smart summon. We're playing with it and it's looking good. So this is Tesla Scope. They always a great follow to see what's happening with the software rollouts. They're saying that 12.5.4 have now been rolled out to over 75 to 90% of eligible vehicles. There's been wave after wave of it being distributed. It also, Vision Auto Park for Cybertruck is now on 90 to 100% of Cybertrucks. And so we're almost near the end of September here. And I think the only 2 that's still missing is end-to-end, as well as Cybertruck having FSD. What's your thoughts on the progress here?
Well, you know, just about a week and a half ago, I was bemoaning the progress. I was saying, we're not going to make it, and getting really worried about, posting such a incredible roadmap and then not delivering it. Here we are. I mean, they're delivering. I mean, they may miss 1 or 2 items, but in a roadmap that was so aggressive, it just is amazing to see. So I'm very pleased. I had some experience with 12.5.4 yesterday, my first real heavy-duty test of it, and it performed flawlessly for me. So I have to be careful because somebody criticized me on X today because they said because I had a good drive, I'm making it as if it's universally good. I didn't make that claim at all. But really, the software it's excellent. That's my experience anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, you have one anecdotal experience. So you also said that, right? The 2 that's missing, Cybertruck does not yet have FSD. That could come, because Ashok Alswami kind of said, "Yeah, I'm working on it." But also, you said something about the end-to-end network. What did you read about that?
Well, it's not end-to-end yet. So in the notes to 5.3.4, it said that end-to-end is next. So whether they'll actually be able to get that delivered by the end of the month or by the 10th, I don't know. I suspect by the 10th it'll be a done deal. It seems that everything is ready for it, but I have to tell you that the actual performance on the freeway has significantly improved over the last couple of versions. It seems to be more confident or more capable in terms of making those very difficult merge movements in difficult exit environments, difficult mergers in order to get to the exit in time. So I was very surprised. I mean, I did a lot of mileage yesterday, probably 80 in all. And the day before I'd done several miles, but we had really bad weather yesterday. And that's what surprised me, is how well it performed in extremely adverse weather, where downpours, this hurricane that's passing through, we got sort of a preview of it, and it was tremendous. And, it limited the speed to the speed limit. And then and that was an absolute limit. You couldn't actually adjust it. But performed flawlessly in that environment. And we went through some very difficult situations because we went through 2 occasions where there was a serious accident and there was ambulances and emergency vehicles, and we had to squeeze around on the limited lanes available. And this was both in city driving. It happened once in city driving and the other time on the freeway. So 2 bad accidents within a 40-mile range. And then I was driving on freeway and city streets, very difficult roads and peak hour traffic.
Yeah.
So it was very heavily stacked against it. And it felt like it was a very confident driver driving me.
Yeah.
And my confidence level was just continuing to improve and improve and improve. I have a list of those items which are still in deficit, and they principally turn around signposts, understanding non-standard signposts, emergency vehicles, flashing lights. Those are the 3 items that I think are still in deficit. Some people I've seen complain about lane choices. I certainly didn't experience that, although I have in the past. So on balance, I find that the improvement step by step has been amazing, particularly this last month and a half. And clearly, they are no longer constrained by compute power. It's clear that the rate at which they're improving and the quantitative improvements have been very, very good. And so I can understand why the bears are very butthurt, and they're very, very reactive right now, and it's clear why.
Yeah, they're coming out right now prior to the Robotaxi event on 10/10. The one thing that I do think that Tesla should have done before 10/10, that's the only one thing. I think that's the end-to-end neural network, the combining the city streets with the highway. It'd be odd if that wasn't combined yet prior to 10/10, because they're saying this is, all net now, and we're, that I think that would be odd.
It's very difficult to tell how much of the code in the city streets have been supplanted by neural network.
Anyways,
I get a sense that there's a very significant amount of it. I think that lane choice may well be the remaining issue, or the planner may be the remaining issue. But time will tell. All I know is that the rate of progress is very encouraging. And that's not to say that I think they're ready to roll out the robotaxi today.
Right. Yeah.
But the rate of improvement certainly has exceeded my expectation over the last 6 weeks.
Great. Okay. So we were just talking about bears, and one of the things that the people who don't believe that Tesla is ahead in robotaxi, they will say, don't you know, if you take a look at Waymo's disengagement rates, it is just more than 10,000 miles per disengagement, and FSD is nowhere near. Well, this guy Rains has been kind of diving deeper into all this, and this is what he said. I thought it was quite interesting what he's kind of explaining here. Okay, he says, "I'm tired of hearing bears, keep saying Waymo has more than 10,000 miles per disengagement and comparing it to FSD. Okay, these people have zero clue about the numbers and don't know what they're talking about. Let me explain why." So Waymo doesn't report events when remote operators assist the car as disengagements or interventions. They only report when the car gets stuck, like on a closed one-way road, and needs someone to physically go out and retrieve it. So according to this rules, that companies like Waymo and Tesla need to report disengagement of autonomous mode. Waymo must report the party that initiated the disengagement, including autonomous technology, autonomous vehicle test driver, remote operator, or passenger. However, if you look at the actual report, you'll see that all 15 disengagements are in-field retrievals with 0 remote operator interventions listed. So he's not saying Waymo's doing anything illegal, but what they're doing is actually kind of clever. It means there'll never be a remote operator remotely turning the wheels, right? So they're not coming in and taking over. The autonomous system is never deactivated. Remote manual assistance is limited to, path planner. Okay, here, I want you to take this route instead, drawing the waypoints to guide the car, or answering questions to help the car understand the context. So if they do things like that, it's not called an intervention or disengagement. Another way to understand that is while Tesla uses an end-to-end neural network-based path planner, Waymo employs a hybrid planner that leverages both neural nets and occasional human assistance. There's a regulatory loophole here. As long as the autonomous system remains activated, human's assistance doesn't count as a disengagement. So if Tesla wanted to do this, they could also cheat. Get approval faster. So when FSD is uncertain about appropriate speed, it calls home for help. Remote operators respond by filling in the blank. And they'll just say, hey, go ahead and drive this. So they didn't take over, but they'll tell it what to do. If they did that, 12.7% of all disengagements that's being tracked by this FSD community tracker would be solved. Another one would be if FSD doesn't know which lane to take, then a remote operator would just click on the screen saying, take this one. They didn't intervene. And so then 33.9% of disengagements would automatically be solved. So right there, you got 50%, half the issues immediately, and then your disengagements per mile would be completely just skyrocket. What do you think? Does this sound right to you?
I hesitate to say yes or no because I just don't know. And I don't think the author knows. I think this is speculation. However, from what I've seen of the operations at Baidu, for example, where they have a significant number of drivers, quote unquote drivers, on standby to actually take over and adjust whatever the intervention requirements is, I would say that's an indicator. I will say this, that it's very difficult in many of these circumstances from a timing perspective to ping the support line, have the support actually advise the next step and the car take over, because very often these disengagements happen and there's traffic and there's things happening, and the disengagement happens because something has to be changed immediately. So I would be a little bit more cautious, but we know from Baidu and we know from what we've heard of Waymo that there are support drivers. The extent that it impacts the intervention and these are counted as interventions, I just don't know. One thing's for sure, we've definitely heard of more interventions than the number they've counted in their report, because we hear of these and we get the stories directly from people on X who are reporting them. So time will tell. Time will tell. We'll learn this for sure in due course. Yeah. And we'll definitely learn it if we have some sort of transition to robotaxi with support drivers. I don't know if that's planned by Tesla. None of us know what they plan to do, but that could well be, the transition step that they take.
Yeah. So this is a sample of what Waymo is reporting. You can see the VIN numbers. You can see that the disengagement initiated by in-field retrieval. And that's why they're going, it's so low. It's only 1 every 10,000. But this is also possibly explains why it costs so much. And they have to be so geofenced, because every drive, maybe there is a person. They're not teleoperating. But they also
drive very slowly. They also drive very slowly. So very significantly slower than, for example, Uber. Yeah. I've seen the times for an Uber drive versus a Waymo drive. You're looking at 2 minutes versus 10 minutes. So when you're driving that slowly, perhaps it is because you want people to be able to intervene in a timely manner. So it's very hard to tell. We're just dealing with such a different technology with Tesla and Waymo. And, when people airily say, oh, Waymo sold it, they got there first, Tesla's dead, they don't understand it hasn't. The two are not in the same ballpark. They're not even in the same city in terms of
literally
the difference in the technologies.
Yeah. Okay. So next story is the Cybertruck is going global. So I think this is something I think you mentioned before, which is you have pretty good, you're one of the more optimistic people since January about how many Cybertrucks will we sell. And what's happened now is Tesla continued to sell the 100,000 plus Cybertruck, the Foundation series, And instead of going down to the lower cost one, they're just going to go global. So we'll show you what's happening in Mexico. And of course, Canada is supposed to come next month. But now there's signs that Cybertruck might be sold in Korea, of all places. Tesla Korea has entered the certification process to sell the Cybertruck in South Korea, according to Korea Transportation Safety Agency. Various vehicles, such as vehicles imported directly by individuals or companies, come to this transportation agency for certification. And in the case of this Cybertruck, the seller which is Tesla, is in process of direct certification. What do you think's happening?
I'm not surprised about Korea, and I won't be surprised about Australia. And so I think that may come as well, Australia, New Zealand. Cybertruck is a halo vehicle. I mean, there are so many people in the world who want it. I can tell you, I had dinner with many Tesla fans in my trip to Europe, and everywhere I go, people were showing me their reservation number. I mean, what could I tell them? I mean, as far north as Norway and as far south as Spain, they have their reservation numbers. They want that truck, Now, whether it will ever be able to be certified in Europe, I don't know. I've heard conflicting reports on that. I saw trucks that were as large as a Cybertruck driving around in Europe. So it seemed to me, and in fact, there was one in our village. Guy had a big Ford truck. He took it into these tiny little village roads, right up the hill. How he got it in and out each time, it boggled my mind, because I struggle to get my 3 in and out these little, hill town roads. But there he was. And so if you can buy a big Ford truck, why not the Cybertruck?
Yeah. So South Korea, we have already reported that it's being sold in Mexico. And here's the delivery event that they had. Tesla owners, Mexico, these almighty Cybertrucks are about to hit the streets. So if you take a look at some of these videos, I'll play them. You can see that, it's a nice, beautiful, official, very, real kind of shows here. And then there's another one. Yeah. What do you think, Larry? It's in Mexico now.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're ready to go. I think they're going. And, there are countries in Europe that have country roads, a lot of very large country roads. I'm thinking about Poland, Hungary, Romania. And, there's a whole layer of people who would give their left arm to have a Cybertruck.
Yeah, so they're going to go global first, it looks like. Yeah, that's Mexico. Yeah. The other thing that they did, Mexico, we covered this in another show, but a few people have been talking about is they actually created a Model 3 variant, an entry level. They reduced the price by $3,000 by changing the cloth seats, for example, among a lot of other things. So I wanted to just show this because, as we were talking about Mexico, this is one of the very first close-ups of the new entry-level Tesla Model 3. And it actually looks pretty good to me. I mean, I thought it looked just fine. It's cloth. It's going to be cheaper. I would still buy that one. Sure. Yeah. So Larry, I mean, this is $3,000 lower. And we're already at, Model 3 is such a favorable pricing.
I don't know if Mexico have the same IRA,
the incentive,
just incentive we have. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the rate at which Tesla's costs have been declining in relative terms to other cars, I think you're going to see the Model 3 constantly, decline. So, I think it's a forever car. I really do. And, a lot of people are down on the fact that they haven't really changed the design by much. But, I've seen the same Ford truck now for generations, in its basic shape.
Yeah. I guess my point is that if you can take the Model 3 create a real wheel drive variant, even reduce the price of that just by removing some bells and whistles. Then you're going to introduce a more affordable vehicle, and then you might even introduce an actual low cost, sub $25,000 car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's so many levers still to be pulled.
Yeah, honestly, I think Gary Black has been correct in this. It should have been done a lot earlier. This was, if you look at Tesla's track record, it's been outstanding in terms of how they've penetrated this market and how they've created this market, created the EV market. I think there's space for some criticism about not rolling out, a broader range than they have now. They've achieved remarkable results with a range of 4 vehicles, now 5. I mean, it's incredible what they've achieved.
Yeah.
But I think had they had 6 or 7 vehicles by now, I think their TAM would have been much larger, their volume would have been much larger, and I doubt whether their overhead would have actually had to go up at all.
Sure.
So,
no doubt about that. It's just that the recession and the economy was too much, and they're not a timing to introduce a brand new vehicle.
Right.
But here's what's happening, right? In China, it's an absolute mess out there, and China's actually done some significant pumping, throwing money into the economy to get it out of deflation. And Tesla there is still seeing incredible strength of growth, which is very cool, which is very surprising. But Tesla in China has further extended their 5-year 0% interest loan instead of 0% interest for new Model Ys and 3s. So now that's going to end in October instead of September. So that's according to Tesla Waymo account.
I would strongly criticize these arguments against Tesla for dropping prices, for constantly bringing that price down and offering these incentives. Firstly, all the dealers do that anyway, and they don't do it on their own accord. The OEMs give them that money to do it. But more importantly, what Tesla are doing are expanding the EV marketplace, the TAM of the EV marketplace, and they're driving the cost of the price of EVs down sympathetically with their reduction in cost of building that car. And it's a long-term view, and it's going to continue, because what they're trying to do is get EVs to the point that they outcompete ICE vehicles in terms of cost, not only in value. I mean, they already exceed the ICE vehicles in terms of value, but they're going to drive it down to below cost. And listen, 16% margin, most OEMs would kill for that margin, absolutely kill for that margin, particularly if you look at how slim Tesla's operating costs are. So if you look at their total margin, operating margin, it's incredible. So I think Tesla's doing the right thing by constantly finding ways to shave the cost of the vehicle. Now, are there levers that they haven't pulled yet? Yes. They haven't pulled the leasing lever. That's a real opportunity for them. That's a fantastic opportunity for them. They haven't really done anything about, they've done a lot using financing margin as a promotion, and that's a good thing. But the leasing lever, I think, would have been an interesting opportunity if they had been very aggressive in their leasing pricing, because they're going to get those vehicles back. And when they get those vehicles back, it's great money for them. So I don't criticize the discounts. I love the discounts.
Yeah. I wonder if as we get closer to Robotaxi ready, then that's when you'll see another lever just offering really good leasing, and then Tesla gets it back,
Exactly.
Okay. So you and I think we did a show where we were talking about these television companies who makes televisions are now getting into the electric vehicle. Sony's one of them. So this is interesting, where you got this Tesla gets a new partner in Supercharger access, And the interesting thing is it's actually in Japan and it's a Sony car. So Tesla has gotten its newest adoptee of the North American charging standard. Sony Honda Mobility adopted it, and they're the first company in the Japanese market to do it.
Yeah, I wish I could feel good about the Japanese manufacturing EVs. I wish I could. I think the Japanese auto industry is in the same trouble as the German industries. Maybe a slightly different story, maybe a different aspect of the market. The Japanese tend to be in the middle market. The Germans are the very, all halo vehicles. But I would say that Japan should have been a lot more aggressive than they have been. Now that Sony is dipping their feet in, they're really doing it with an auto partner, and they're using their name, and they're trying to bring the electronics to it. We'll see. I'm a little skeptical, but that they're adopting the NACS standard is very important. It's very important. It's crucial for them because Japan suffers from a lack of charging stations, and those charging stations are very important in Japan, as they are in China, as they are in Europe, because people live in these vast apartment complexes, very difficult to have, plug in, power overnight. And so it's critical. And if you look at the Chinese number of charging stations per EV vehicle is many, many, many times that of Europe, which is even greater than US. US is a terrible laggard in that because there's Tesla and all the rest are just garbage. So Sony are making a really strong move, and hopefully they also will license FSD because they look like they're doing this properly. So it'll be interesting to see it happen.
Yeah, they can sense that if Toyota doesn't do anything and they're standing back and stay with hybrids, there's an opportunity for them to break into the Japanese market. Very interesting. Thank you so much, Larry. This was great. We covered several stories and appreciate your commentary on all of them. Follow Larry on X, Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.